Okay, video request, video request. Okay. Maybe I should even read it. So, video request from a Gypsy Hustled. This is the dude who gives me all the good ones, man. I like it when Gypsy Hustle gives me a video request. Okay, so video request. Can you please share your thoughts on the stock market? Do you know anyone who made a lot of money in stocks? Or anybody who lost all their savings? Would you ever invest in your own money into the stock market? Or do you not trust it? Enron, Bernie Madoff, WorldCom. Have you studied the Great Depression at all during your history studies? And do you think society has learned much from that experience? What are your thoughts on investment firms and hedge funds whose managers make record bonuses of multiple millions even in the crisis of 2007 was unfolding? Do you think it's justified that some hedge fund managers make more in an hour than many households do in a lifetime? What value do these firms provide to society, and do you blame them for the housing crisis? Thanks. Okie dokie. I didn't do any research for this one, but I would definitely like to figure out exactly what happened. I did watch a video that Gypsy Hustle sent me, but this is like a month ago, and I forgot the details. But so anyways, could I share my thoughts on the stock market? Yeah, okay, so what I know about the stock market is that it's been around for a long time. I remember when I was listening to my history book that when Columbus found America and everybody thought that it was India because he came back and said, I found India, the stocks in Venice went down because the Venusians were using the Silk Road and those trade routes. And people freaked out and they thought, oh my God, they're going to start going on the boat across the ocean. And so they had stock markets in those days. Stock market's all about getting people to invest their money to help businesses grow. And as a reward for that, the people who invested their money, they get their payout when the business starts making money. The people who invested in the beginning get a return. And some people do really well in it. Like my roommate, his dad was an engineer, made a lot of money with that, but I guess he said he makes more money in the stock market than he ever did as an engineer. So yeah, I guess I know somebody who made money. It was him. Or anybody, and I watched Windows a few years ago for somebody who had a really nice big house and they were wealthy and they made money with the stock market. I knew somebody traveling in Guatemala who made money with the stock market and was on vacation and lived and worked in New York. I don't know anything about that stuff. That's math stuff, and that never interested me, but I will learn about it really well one day without having to fuck around with the math. You don't have to do math to know that stock market. Fucking stupid educational system of America. Anyways, do I know anybody who lost all their savings? I had a friend, actually, my buddy Tony, who was going to do the kite trick with me. He went to Korea and he invested some money, and I think Freddie Mac. And lost money because that was Bernie Madoff's thing, wasn't it? Freddie Mac. He was running a Ponzi scheme where he would get people to don't put their money in to make money on the stocks, and then he would give money to the other people back to make them have, I guess, confidence in him, and then take everybody's money as much as he knew he could get. And when he got to that mountaintop, that's when he bailed out and escaped, and I guess they caught him. Enron, same kind of thing. They were lying about how much money they owned. So they didn't have any money, but they had their little data sheets saying that they had a lot, so their stocks made a lot, so they made a lot, and then they bailed out with the money. And anyways, that guy Ken Lay got in trouble for it. But that was straight up pure. Those guys, WorldCom, I haven't WorldCom, but Bernie Madoff and Enron, straight up criminals. So I guess WorldCom too. But that's just guys who lie. It has nothing to do with the stock market. That's like comparing, selling houses to the housing industry to people who would sell you nothing, telling you that it's a house. Don't blame it on the stock market. Blame it on the lack of oversight. Would you ever invest your own money in the stock market? Yeah, I was actually thinking about it recently. I would if I whenever I have some extra money laying around, I'd like to play around in the stock market, but only if I knew what I was doing, and I wouldn't be having stockbrokers or anything like that, or take like stock recommendations. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's obviously, if you're going to pay somebody for the insider knowledge, they're obviously scamming somebody, dude, which means it's not going to turn out good for anybody involved in the end. It's better to do your own work. If you want to make money on the stock market, being really good at the stock market is really similar to like being a prophet, knowing what's going to happen in the future. And by just looking at everything, looking at all the data, like all the trends of people who are interested in stuff and what they're buying, and what the R&D, research and development of all the different companies are working on. So what's coming out next year and the year after that, what people are going to be into, what the politicians are doing, what kind of decisions we'll make, what kind of problem, maybe environmental or some kind of problem we maybe have in the future, which will change around the dynamics of all of these industries. So it's not something that you could, program a super smart Cray computer to tell you what stocks to invest in. There's no way in hell. The only way you could be good in it is by being a good old-fashioned human and taking a step back and looking at everything from a intelligent point of view, and then you'll know who to invest in. And to give my own stock market tips, being an optimist about the future is a great way to make money with the stock market. I remember last year people were Republicans trying to give Obama shit for investing in like Tesla, and renewable energy, and now it's starting to pay off, and these guys are making money. Tesla's doing really well, and so it turns out that all of his like subsidizes for renewable energy was good, and so anybody who invested in those companies are doing well. So investing in something good for the planet that we can only survive on a planet with in the future is obviously going to be the industry of the future. If we're all going to survive, and we're not going to survive, who fucking cares? So you invest in it and you make money off of it. Being an optimist will be really good for that. So investing in, solar companies, and, as long as they're like managed well, you can't lose. Stuff for the future, like, and stuff that's not like a temporary fix, like these $100 computer bullshit. No, invest in something, a real computer, because they'll be $100 anyways. Some like world computer company that wants to sell computers to third world countries, or, somebody who wants to help the poor people, because there's a huge market. That's where most of the people in the world are. So yeah, I'd invest in the stock market, but I would study it. I'd know it inside and out before I did invest, because I'm not a gambler in any way, dude. I don't throw money and go, okay, what do we got? No, that's not me. Have you studied the Great Depression at all during your historical studies? And do you think society has learned much from that experience? Yes, I think society has learned, but I think that we're having to relearn a lot of it now. For example, the Glass-Steagall Act. Franklin Roosevelt did the Glass-Steagall Act in 1932 as an answer to the Great Depression, so that you couldn't, people who make money off of these investment banks, they couldn't use normal people's money, our money, to make more money for them. That's bullshit. So they enacted the Glass-Steagall Act to separate personal banks from the investment banks. But in 1999, Bill Clinton repealed the Glass-Steagall Act, and so now the investment banks use everybody's money from the normal banks to make more money for themselves, and then they cause all of these economic collapse by becoming leeches on society and making too much money. The Great Depression, what I know about the Great Depression is everybody got involved in the stock market, and everybody thought they were going to make all this money in the stock market, from all the way down to the normal, milkman, which is impossible, but people didn't see that. It was really similar to the tulip craze. This is actually the craziest one of all time. In the Netherlands, back in 1770s or something like that, they really liked tulips in Amsterdam, and so people started farming tulips, and they started farming more tulips, and they got really popular in society, and people started growing them to make a lot of money. And when it was at its peak, one tulip was worth more than a nice house in the middle of Amsterdam. And then one day somebody was like, all right, I'm out of the tulip. I'm going to sell all my tulips. This is too many people are into it. And then everybody freaked out, and then like a week later, a tulip was worth shit. It was worth nothing when last week it was worth as much as a house. So it was kind of like that. Everybody was doing the stock market, and then all of a sudden they were like, the smart people got out and sold all their stuff, and then everybody did, and then nothing was worth anything, and there was no money, because the industry of the money-making machine of America was all in the stock market. That all died. Nobody had any money. So the government had to come in and basically hire everybody and to build roads, and that was great, to actually do something, not just sit there and punch numbers and get richer. And some of those stock guys got so rich. One dude was so rich that he had all of the city lights in New York Times just to him, so that when he drove to work, there was no red light. It was just green, 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 green. And he ended up losing all his money on the stock market and dying a poor man. So, these people, and the stock crash happened because of all the insider trading. All these people on the top were sharing the secret information about what the companies were going to do, and then investing in it and stuff. And so there was no level playing field. And so the low people who thought that they were playing a fair game were just basically just giving their money away. And so we learned a lot. We instilled, put in a lot of laws to stop insider trading. That's what Martha Stewart went to jail for, to make it a level playing field, so that when you invest, you're actually investing in a company that you think's going to do well, and it's not some kind of, you're not being scammed and lied to, and all that weird stuff that I don't even know anything about. But we're having to. Anyways, let's continue. What are your thoughts on investment firms and hedge funds whose managers make record bonuses of multiple millions, even as the crisis of 2007 was unfolding? I don't know what hedge funds are or any of that stuff, but I know that investment firms, it's basically people who make money off of money. So the more money they get, the more money they can make. And all these billionaires, most of the money they get is from investing in stuff and making money off it. And it will only work, that kind of society will only work if the people who invest do it out of the kindness of their heart. And I think for the most part they do. So, I think there's a way out, but yeah, these guys definitely don't deserve that much money. I remember Jesse Ventura did a meeting with those guys at Goldman Sachs, and they give themselves $30 million bonuses. A lot of these guys make, I don't know how much, like 200 million a year, whatever, millions and millions, become billionaires, and they work for the government. Like, what's this guy, Hank Paulson? He's the chairman of the Secretary of the Treasury, and makes all these stupid decisions to allow credit cards. What happened with the housing market is people let people with bad credit buy houses, and they couldn't keep up with the credit, and they're not smart enough with numbers to know that, and then they even fucking jack up their interest, like what the credit card did with me. Jacked my interest from 18 all the way up to 23%, even though I kept up on all the payments. They said I didn't, but I did on all of them. And anyways, what is it? Monsanto. They loan money to farmers in India, and then they lie to them, and then they make them. Now they're locked in, and they make them pay more and more and more, so they can never pay it off, and they're just broke, and they're all going to commit suicide. Yeah, that shit's bad. But yeah, those people don't deserve that much money. And the guy was actually defending. He's like, "What do you mean? Are you saying a shortstop for the Yankees deserves more money than somebody with an important job at Goldman Sachs with the banking?" And so they think that they're entitled to it because they're the smart guys. They're the smart dudes. And the super smart guys get all the money, But that's these guys not playing on a level playing field. It's kind of similar to a shortstop for the Yankees taking steroids, not playing on a level playing field. But, it's not something to compare. Professional athletes who make all that money because of their fans. Will actually agree to pay all that money to go watch them play. It's just how capitalism works, But using normal Americans' money to our taxpayers' money to then bribe politicians to make laws like repealing the Glass-Steagall Act, and to be able to, use everybody else's money to invest in stocks and make even more money for themselves and not have to pay, as much interest, and not going to jail when they break the law, is bad. Definitely not good guys. And they are basically a leech on society, Yeah, even as the crisis was unfolding. Do you think it's justified that, what value do these firms provide society, and do you blame them for the housing crisis? Thanks. Yeah, I think the housing crisis happened because they were, I didn't understand it when I watched this video. But yeah, they loaned too much money. They were letting too many people borrow money for houses, and they couldn't pay, and they knew they weren't going to be able to pay it back. But they didn't care because they knew that they were such big banks that they were just going to, when they couldn't get paid back, the taxpayer were going to pay them anyway. They're going to get bailed out. And that's because they didn't have, and they were charging too much interest. They used to have like a 4% interest or 8% interest rate maximum, according to federal law, and then they raised it, by corrupt politicians and paying them off. And now I'm here paying 23% on a credit card. And so that kind of stuff is bad. Like in the Roman Empire, they were with Augustus. They were only charging 4% interest for people who borrowed money to buy farms and stuff. So, 23% interest or 18% is ridiculous. That's too much. And when when people can't pay their credit card, give them bad credit. And then when the banks break the law. And I can't remember exactly what they did to break the law, but they did. These guys did break the law. Anyways, yeah, those guys need to go to jail. But I don't know any more of the details on that. I should watch. Gypsy Hustle actually sent me a couple videos to watch that I haven't gotten around to watching yet. I'll watch them today, and then maybe I'll do a better video on the stock market. But yeah, I blame them. I blame them for the housing crisis. The people who know what was going on were actually predicting that it was going to happen just from looking at everything. And and they didn't care. But there was a worse one going on in China. I saw a Vice episode. Remember China was having 5% growth for a few years? Well, it's because they were creating this huge subdivision of skyscraper apartment buildings, and nobody lived in them. When they finished them, only one family lived in the entire block. It's total ghost town. They were just using taxpayer money to make money for the developers. They didn't care. And a lot of these money people, they like to brag that they're so smart. I think they're the dumbest people around. I mean, the people who started the Great Depression thought they were so smart by making themselves so rich and doing all the insider trading. And then the people who caused the housing crisis, they think they're so smart. What value do these firms provide to society? The ones who cause this crap, they're leeches. They'd be better not on this planet. They'd be better for us not here. And then the normal people who are honest with money, who can use it for what it's supposed to be for. Exchange the money for a service, building a road or something. Not exchange the money to make them more money. There's this, I think it was Goldman Sachs actually. They were moving, I saw it on Young Turks. They were moving silver from one warehouse to another warehouse to another warehouse, because if they held it in their value or whatever, in their possession for over a year or something, because of some loophole in a law, they got to sell it again for 10 times more. So instead of doing everybody right and selling it like they're supposed to when they buy it or whatever, it's just a money-making scheme. They'll buy it for this price, and then they move it around, wasting everybody's money doing that until they can then, they're legally allowed to sell it and make a shitload of money for it. Taking shortcuts like that and giving people jobs just to give them jobs and doing stuff because it makes you more money, that's not going to make you a happy person in the long run, man. You're going to get reborn onto a fucked up planet. Not on a utopian Earth utopia planet. That's evil shit right there. every motivation these people need to have is if it's good for the world before it's good for them, you know. But it's easier for me to talk. I don't have a family to support, but yeah, I mean, once you make 50 G's a year, you're happy enough, and it doesn't matter if you make more than that. You don't have to be having $100 million isn't going to make you so much more happier than if you just have $1 million. You know, play fair, and you're going to be happy, man. You don't have to be a sleazy rich guy. But anyways, that's all I know. This is not a really well-educated video, but I'd like to go in and remember that stuff, study it, and maybe do another video. But thanks for the request anyway. Peace out.